Hello again, and welcome to episode 165 of SDGC for Thursday, October the 10th. If you're not aware, Super Deformed Gamescast meets right here each and every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we discuss the latest gaming headlines with a wide variety of panel members and guests. We also do a whole bunch of other stuff as time allows, like a separate show about movies and television, pre-recorded content, and a bi-weekly morning show every other Friday. If you've been along for the ride so far, welcome home. And if not, hey, maybe feel free to stick around and throw us a sub. Every single podcast is archived the next day on our YouTube channel for those who like to watch. And you can find us on all major podcast services for those who like to listen. How is everybody?
Yo, what's up, dude?
Reb is rubbing.
I'm good.
Reb is rubbing.
Do you see this nonsense going on?
Yeah.
I'm trying to do a pod. No.
Oh,
there we go.
That was
It's
it.
done.
That was it. And we're here.
He's gone. Hello, everybody. How is everybody doing?
Good.
Good. How about everybody in chat? How's everybody in chat?
Y'all hanging in there? It's been one hell of a news
I
week.
know it's been a fucking week for news. Jesus Christ. I'm happy to be here with everybody. I missed you all.
I'm happy that we are doing this instead of tuning into a certain president's Twitch stream.
Hey, look, you know what? If you want, the best way to say fuck Donald Trump, I'll say it. The best way to say fuck Donald Trump is to not watch his lame-ass Twitch stream and instead tune in to SDGC on this lovely Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I do have an announcement to make. From now on, I've made a decision. From now on, when we are quoting articles on this podcast, we will exclusively be quoting from gamesindustry.biz. It's just a great website.
Are you trying to butter me up for something,
It's just
John?
a great website.
Are you trying to? What's happening here?
Mostly because every time I say here's an IGN article, I can see Reb's like, hey, we were.
No, it's not the IGN's fine. It's when you go here's a VentureBeat article or here's a Gamasutra article. Literally our direct competitors. Like, come on, man. No, IGN's great. They got Matt Kim there.
Hey, they kind of got me there too. I wrote an article there once.
You did write an article there once,
write an article there.
And told everybody to censor video games.
I did. I'm sorry about taking away your video games, everybody. I apologize for that. So I think what we want to do tonight is start on PlayStation 5 or Blizzard. We start with Blizzard.
We had like a whole discussion about this before the podcast, and I don't remember what we decided.
I forgot. I think we decided Blizzard.
Blizzard.
Jeff said Blizzard.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We're gonna talk. All right. We're gonna start off with Blizzard. So,
buckle up.
What's that? Oh yeah, no. This is a big one. So I've got 3 separate articles up. All, of course, from gamesindustry.biz, wonderful website that it is. And so
actually, since you're gonna do that, I will plug that they probably 2. I don't know what the third one is that you have up, but 2 of the 3 that I know you have up are from Marie D'Alessandri, who is our new staff writer, and
yes,
she's wonderful, and congrats to her, and I'm glad she's on board. Go follow her on Twitter. I don't know what her handle is, but if you look her up, Marie D'Alessandri, it's very French. I don't know.
She is. This is one of the articles. She wrote one of the articles that I'm quoting. If you play games and you don't live under a rock, then you know that there is a huge controversy right now surrounding Blizzard and China. You know what, Reb? Since I'm quoting from GamesIndustry.biz, do you want to kind of refresh everybody's memory on what exactly happened, how this all kicked off?
Yeah. So I mean, this is a fairly long saga, but I'll try to give like a real quick summary of everything that happened and everything that's happened since, as succinct as I possibly can. So this, I believe, happened at the end. The actual incident happened, I think, at the end of last week. I think that's correct. There was a professional Hearthstone player at the Hearthstone Grandmasters. I cannot pronounce his name. I'm so sorry. He goes by Blitzchung.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
No, just go with
I'm a butcher no matter what. But anyway, he won his match, and he was doing an interview after his match, and he at some point put on a gas mask and goggles, similar to what the Hong Kong protesters have been wearing over there during all the demonstrations. And he said in the middle of the stream, "Liberate Hong Kong, revolution of our age." Afterwards, Blizzard decided that they were going to take away his prize money, take him out of the competition, ban him from playing in Hearthstone esports for 12 months. And they also ended their relationship with the 2 interviewers who were working with him. Their involvement in this is questionable. I think the determination is they didn't know he was going to do that, but they just ended their relationship with him. So this happened. And people are not pleased about this. It's not completely clear exactly, like, I mean, I know we kind of know why Blizzard did it, but like there's speculation that like Tencent pressured them or like the Chinese government pressured them, and we don't know any of that. Like, this was just something that
maybe they did it just of their own volition without.
Yeah, I mean, we can go into discussion as to why
why
they might do something like this. There are a lot of different reasons, but they've done this. They really haven't issued a statement since. They basically did it, and they've kind of clammed up ever since. They said that they were evaluating the situation to Engadget at one point, but anyway, the reason why they're evaluating it is because people are pissed. Let's see, a bunch of Blizzard employees staged a walkout the other day. Some of them were carrying umbrellas, which was it's a symbol of kind of the protests in Hong Kong that have gone on. I think back in like 2014, there were a set of protests where the umbrellas were like a really big symbol. So they did a walkout. They covered up 2 of the values that are on the plaques surrounding the big orc statue in front of the values they covered up were "Think globally" and "Every voice matters." Yep. Then another fellow, sorry, I'm skimming through the article for his name really quick to make sure I get it right. Brian Kibler. He was going to be a caster for the Hearthstone Grandmasters final in November at BlizzCon, and he decided that he wasn't going to do that anymore in protest. He said he couldn't be associated with it in good conscience.
He's been a good guy since I remember him from Magic the Gathering when I played in high school. Like, he's been around forever. He's a good guy.
Yeah. So that all happened. Then 2 U.S. senators, Marco Rubio, for some reason, and Ron Wyden, who's a Democratic senator from Oregon, both tweeted at some point talking about how this was China basically trying to harm free speech in America. So they actually got into it. This is not in the article anywhere, but this news actually made it to my Kansas City local news station, which I think it's always wild when big video game news makes it there. So it's getting out beyond video games. What else has happened? The Blizzard subreddit, I think, had to be set to private. I don't know if it's been reinstated at this point, but it was just literally a nonstop stream of topics about that. I know the WoW and the Hearthstone subreddits have also had to take specific measures. They're not set to private, but they've had to like kind of condense everything into topics because this is all anyone wants to talk about. There was a hashtag Blizzard boycott that was trending on Twitter yesterday. There's a petition going around. A bunch of people are trying to turn May from Overwatch into a big pro-democracy symbol.
Yeah, I saw that.
For Hong Kong.
And BlizzCon is in 3 weeks.
Yeah, BlizzCon is in 3 weeks. And then there have been, I think, a couple people at this point. I know Immutable, they developed some game called Gods Unchained, was offering to replenish Blitzchung's winnings that he had taken away. I think a couple other people have offered similar things, though. A couple of the people I've seen, I've gotten a couple of press releases about other people offering similar things, though they seem mostly trying to promote themselves. The Immutable seems like maybe they're attempting to do the right thing. But anyway, yeah, so a lot of people pissed. I'm sure more things have happened since then at this point. Like, it
Wasn't
just keeps
there
going
also
on.
like so many people were trying to like deactivate their Blizzard accounts that there was actually an outage and you couldn't for a little while. It was just
yeah.
So
I don't think it was disabled. I think it was just busy or something.
Like, we don't have an actual statement as to what happened there. Someone tweeted the other night that they were trying to deactivate their Blizzard account, and like all 4 forms of deactivation were down or something weird like that. They tweeted. And that tweet kind of went viral a little bit. And I don't know how many people confirmed that they were having the same problem. But whatever it was, the problem seems to have been solved within an hour. Like, a lot of people were saying that it was Blizzard trying to shut down its account deactivations.
Yeah, no, I wasn't saying it was that. I thought it was just
I know
busy.
you weren't saying that, but like that was going around. And I do want to clarify that I don't think that was a deliberate move by Blizzard. I think that was just something that happened.
I think another big one is that Epic, who also has a significant share owned by Tencent, made a statement saying that they will not censor their esports players' political speech.
Well, Tencent's share in Epic is like 40%, I think.
It's like 40-something percent.
No, it's 4.9. 4.9. Tencent owns
Epic? It's over 40%.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Activision Blizzard. My bad.
Sorry, this is the point. That's the point I'm making, John. Tencent. This is why I don't think, like, a lot of people are jumping to it's Tencent trying to control them. Tencent owns like a 40-some% share in Epic Games. They own like a single-digit share in Blizzard. This is not Tencent. Like, this is my theory, and I guess this is where I would start the discussion. My theory as to why Blizzard is doing this is I think they saw this happen and panicked and didn't think that it was. I think they drastically underestimated how much everybody cared about this kind of thing. I think they got scared when they saw Blitzchung say this, and they didn't want to piss off their Chinese market, which is extremely large and significant. And I think they hit the button really quickly and were like, no, okay, we're gonna cut this off. We're not gonna let this guy do anything else because we don't want this kind of trouble. And inadvertently, basically ensured that a bunch of people are going to be showing up to all the Blizzard events for like the next however long with big Liberate Hong Kong signs. They basically just guaranteed that people are going to keep doing this. And
I'm waiting. To troll Blizzard. Yeah.
I guarantee that they are. There's no way they don't eventually come out with some kind of statement, either backpedaling or doing something at some point, because otherwise people are not going to let this go. And I think that's kind of wild. Like I am aware of the protests in Hong Kong. I had to educate myself a little bit. I still don't feel that I fully understand the situation, even though I've read up on it over the last couple of days.
It's been an eye-opening experience.
Yeah, but I didn't think that as much of the Western world was aware of this as the Western gaming world, especially. Like, we usually don't care about politics that much. I didn't think.
I feel like maybe people are just hearing about it for the first time a lot now.
Yeah.
Hold on, Jeff, go ahead. Oh no, Brandon, I'm sorry. Brandon, finish with
No, you're good.
I didn't mean to cut you off, man. I'm sorry.
I didn't say anything. You're good.
Jeff, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I know. I wanted to mention, I know we're a games podcast, so we got to keep it focused on games, but I find it interesting that Reb talked about Blizzard actually getting coverage on local mainstream news. There's in tandem with it a second huge news story kind of around the same thing, which is the NBA right now.
Yeah.
China is basically muzzling all of the NBA players because they have so much control over that league. And I find it interesting that they're both in the news and both very similar situations. And I wonder if Blizzard is kind of keeping an eye on that, or I'm just wondering if they'll play out side by side, or if there's going to be any. I'm curious to see how both of those organizations approach and handle this. And it is just further evidence of how scary this is, and how many other companies are probably, we just don't know about it. But
I mean, Jeff, I'm sorry to cut you off, but look at the film industry. Dude, the film industry is massively beholden to China, and China has huge problems with any depiction of China in a negative light in Hollywood.
I believe it was confirmed in some manner that the reason the Ancient One in Doctor Strange was white and not Tibetan, as in the comics, is because China refuses to recognize Tibet as a valid.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. That is 100% correct.
They straight up admitted, we did this because we wanted to make money in China.
Yeah. I would also note that as a result of all this, a lot of people have been kind of finding, I guess a lot of these topics have been blowing up across other games as well, where people are finding other places where there have been several stories recently about Apple removing apps from the App Store that have something to do with Hong Kong or something like that. And I would note that I reached out to 8 different publishers who also either run in full or in part esports events that are international, and asking them for statements about this. And I have gotten not one response. That's
really upsetting.
It's really frustrating. I take it back. I got one response that was, "We'll get back to you."
It's the most stock ass bullshit I've ever heard. Justin, go ahead.
So something I wanted to kind of raise in this discussion is, so while a lot of people are rightfully supporting Hong Kong and the right to free speech and free political speech, there are a lot of people that I think are not engaging in this debate in good faith. There's a lot of people that were associated. There are a lot of people that are associated with Gamergate that have been getting their voices amplified on Twitter, basically just because, somebody saw something that they RT'd and then, RT'd it and then it went around again in some, mainstream gaming magazines. And there's been a rising level of xenophobia and racism, especially when it comes to China and Tencent and stuff in certain gaming communities. And
I think thing with the Epic Games story.
Yeah, that was what I was just going to say.
Racist.
Yeah, I've seen things where it's the Chinese are brainwashed, so they don't want to do this. Oh, they'll do anything to get ahead, so they cheat and get free to play games. It's really bad.
Yeah,
I just want to urge people to be cautious about what voices they're boosting, what kind of points they're engaging with, and making sure it's people that are, engaging in good faith with this conversation. Because this is kind of one of the rare instances where everybody's kind of on the same page of the argument, but not everybody has the right reasons. And I just want to make sure everybody is very careful with, the kind of voices they boost and how they engage in these conversations.
I'm sorry, Reb, go ahead.
I would argue that it is possible to think this was a really fucking stupid decision by Blizzard and think that the Chinese government is kind of fucking scary and has their hand in a bunch of places that we really don't want governments to have a hand in. And also, not just like unanimously hate China and be racist. I think that those are views that you can hold at the same time somehow. Yeah, no, in your
those
mind.
are.
You kind of have to separate the Chinese government from the Chinese people. I think is kind of the big takeaway from that.
Which should be easy when you look at what's going on in America.
Exactly. Right.
Like,
yeah, Jeff. Exactly.
Here's the piece of shit administration. And then here's the people that live in this country.
Yeah, and they don't have a choice in the matter, right? That's them. That's their lives. And and a
lot of them in Hong Kong are out on the streets right now protesting it.
But also understanding that people in mainland China, with the influence and control China has over the internet, some of them not all of the facts are available to everyone. And when you're in those situations, it's very easy to be misled. And it doesn't mean it's no excuse for racism or anything like that. It's just understanding that, like, this is just how fucked up the situation is with that government and how much control they have over the world.
And a lot of people don't have the freedom or the space or the security to be able to actually go out and speak their mind and protest. A lot of people simply aren't capable, even though they hold, certain views. And even if they didn't, like, it's not their fault. Anyway, yes.
Well, and I also want to give a shout out to some of the outlets and individuals, the decent-minded folk like us, who have been voicing their support. A really good example of that are our very good friends over at Kinda Funny, who did an amazing tweet today about the unboxing of the World of Warcraft Classic Edition. It was just a sign on the back of the box that said "Free Hong Kong." It was just 5 minutes, a 5-minute shot of that box, and it was great. I love seeing stuff like that. I love seeing that kind of support, especially from like outlets with a ton of influence and like a huge platform, like a Kinda Funny. I thought that was great.
By the way, how many Hong Kong May cosplayers are there going to be at BlizzCon?
Tons.
How many Winnie the Pooh cosplayers?
It's going to be Winnie the Pooh and Hong Kong May as far as the eye can see.
And they're all going to get kicked out, which is going to be its own controversy.
Well, but can they?
Yeah, they can.
Do you? Well, okay, they can. Will they? Because can you fucking imagine? Like, at this point, do you really think Blizzard is going to do anything deliberately or dramatically that is going to escalate this further?
Yes.
I do actually.
I don't know.
I don't know. After the BlizzCon reception last year,
I've been a fan of Blizzard for a long time, and I kind of feel like, they stick to their guns.
The reaction to this is like way surprisingly big. It's way bigger than I thought it would be.
I think.
Can you
imagine
if they kicked out 100 people from BlizzCon for being dressed as either Winnie the Pooh or Hong Kong May? Can you imagine the backlash that would bring?
Yeah, that'd be huge. But so the question is, how deep are they in with their Chinese overlords, right?
I really do think they panicked and hit a button and are now having to scramble to figure out what to do.
I just have.
Go ahead.
Go, Justin. I'm sorry.
I just have a question. I've only heard that the actions were taken and we've had responses from Blizzard China. Have we heard, aside from the employee protests and stuff, have we heard officially from any Blizzard source outside of China?
I know they said to Engadget they were assessing the situation. Let me check real quick.
Okay, because I've only seen Blizzard China quotes. I didn't know
the Blizzard China quotes are really fucked up.
No, they're straight up.
Do you guys?
You will not besmirch the name, the dignity of our country and stuff. Yeah.
Do you guys want to know a sick drinking game at BlizzCon this year? Take a shot every time you see a Free Hong Kong sign in the crowd. You'll be
dead on the first crowd pan.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
The official statement from Blizzard, they did actually publish a blog post about this. They said what happened, and they said that his action violated the 2019 Hearthstone Grandmasters official competition rules, which is engaging in any act that, in Blizzard's sole discretion, brings you into public disrepute, offends a portion or group of the public, or otherwise damages Blizzard image, will result in a removal from Grandmasters and reduction of the player's prize total to $0, in addition to any other remedies.
I saw that.
Yeah. So that's their official statement. That was from 2 days ago. They have not said anything since.
That is such garbage. How does free Hong Kong somehow damage Blizzard's public standing?
Well, the rule is intentionally vague because it's just saying they can do it. Like, it's at their discretion, which means
it's super vague.
They can basically do whatever they want for anything you say. Like, it's just a loophole.
Yeah.
I just want to address.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify,
Justin,
because there's just been so many stories about this, and I just wasn't sure.
Because more things keep happening. God damn it!
Real quick, I want to address a question in chat from the Sam and Owen show. I'm looking to start a podcast. What tips would you give me? Get a Twitch channel and start your podcast.
Or whatever podcasting platform you want.
Yeah, or whatever, YouTube, whatever. Just go do it. That's the best advice I can give you.
That's all we did.
Yeah, that's literally all we did.
And
we
just
had
and do it and do it.
Friends that knew each other from certain places. And
keep doing it. Keep doing it. Keep going at it, and see what happens. But don't do it and don't quit. Reb had raised an interesting question, like how do they actually handle the situation, right? Like what do they do? Will they walk this back? Will they apologize?
Because that's the thing, right? Like, I think they panicked when this happened. They were afraid of upsetting their Chinese audience. They made this decision. They didn't realize that the Western audience was going to get upset in the way that they did. They can't walk this back, though. That's the thing. If China, I don't think that anybody, I don't think the Chinese government was watching this and called up, I don't know, whoever's in charge of Blizzard now. I can't remember since Mike Morhaime left. And said, hey, was it Jalen Brack? Is that who it is? Called him up and was like, hey, what the fuck are you doing? Turn this off right now. Get rid of this guy. I don't think that's what happened. I do think that this has now caught up enough attention that if Blizzard does walk back this decision, somebody over there is not going to be pleased about it.
It's going to be so much worse for the Chinese response if they walk it back than if they hadn't done anything in the first place. But in terms of the international response, they're in such a bad position.
If they had just ignored it, they could claim to the Chinese that they are just indifferent or they're just staying out of it.
Or even
but now, if they walk it back, it basically says that they're supporting it.
I even think they could have gotten away with a softer response, like just removing him from this particular competition at this time, or not letting go the two interviewers who apparently had nothing to do with it. What the fuck?
Yeah, that is fucked up beyond belief.
I think if they had responded in a softer way, people wouldn't have gotten quite as mad. People still would have gotten mad. It would have gotten some Reddit threads. But this just seems so wildly disproportionate. And again, people are not. I don't think people are going to let this go. I think the Hearthstone community. I don't think they're going to let this go.
I think if the response had been something maybe he did, because there was. As much as I hate to say it, there was a contractual detail that, can come in. If they had just been okay, you can't participate in Hearthstone competitions for a while, but let him have his prize money. I think that was kind of the thing that really set people off, is they're just no, it's you didn't, it's just they immediately erased him and not just gave him some kind of in esports punishment. If that makes sense.
Yeah, if I was in a professional Hearthstone competition, I would never be. But if I can't play Hearthstone for shit. But if I was, and I got on camera in an interview, took the microphone and just yelled, "Fuck Donald Trump" really loud, I would not expect there to be zero repercussions for that.
I mean, we'll do it right here on this podcast.
I would not expect to be banned from Hearthstone for a year, have all my winnings taken away, and kicked out of the competition I was in. But maybe a smaller version of that I would expect to.
The thing
Blizzard goes hard.
The thing that really bothers me here, and I want to really quick touch on something that Glorious Ward said in chat. You're talking about a country that is putting the the Uyghurs, which is basically, if you don't know who they are Chinese Muslims who live in the south of China. They're putting them in concentration camps, and we are allowing them to dictate the terms of our gaming industry. We're allowing them to dictate the terms of the sports industry. And my question is, what's next? And it leaves a really bad taste in my mouth. It's just, the whole situation is frustrating, and I completely agree with Reb. There is no good out for Blizzard here.
Yeah, I don't know what the right response is,
or the NBA for that matter. Like I mean, because Reb, just like you said, like if China wasn't watching, I agree with you. I guarantee China wasn't watching this before then, but they are now.
I mean, they were, I'm sure. Like I mean, again, part of following, like they're not doing. No one in China watches. Like people in China watch. I think they would have gotten some backlash either way just because this happened. But I think that their disproportionate reaction blew this wildly out of control. And I should clarify, I do know what the right answer is, like the morally right answer is here, but I don't know from a business standpoint, what the correct answer is.
So Imran in chat said Blizzard should bring Blitzchung to BlizzCon and apologize on stage. I agree, and it's never going to happen.
No, they would not.
They can't. That would end.
They literally can't.
They straight up can't.
Yeah. Careful, Sir Baggy Pants in chat. Careful, guys who get SDGC banned in China. Fuck it.
Our big Chinese audience.
Yeah.
All of our Tencent investors. All that Tencent money we'd be losing.
Does anybody have anything else they want to say about Blizzard before we move on to PlayStation 5?
I think we covered it.
Liberate Hong Kong?
Liberate Hong Kong. Free Hong Kong, everybody. We stand with...
Revolution of our time.
We stand with everybody in Hong Kong. We do here.
By the way, check out some of those videos, the Hong Kong protesters, because they are the most badass organized protesters I've ever seen.
Good.
They're tough. And like, I guess the other thing, like, I mean, I have done like some very basic research on this now, like just to sort of figure out what's going on and better understand the topic, but I intend to do more. Visit your local library, read a magazine, read a book, read a newspaper from like a trusted journalistic source, and find out what's happening and learn about this, major political event that is happening in the time you were alive.
I couldn't have said that better myself, Reb. That was excellent. And I think it's time to move on from Blizzard and talk about something a little more positive, which is...
Mostly? Actually, no.
What's that?
Well, it goes downhill pretty quick, but keep going.
It does, but we're going to start off on a positive note, Reb. We're going to start off on a positive note. We're going to talk about the next generation of video game consoles. The last generation, I hear.
It's always an exciting time. Has it been 6 years already? Honestly?
Already, it's been a long time, and now we are ready to move into the future and talk about the PlayStation 5, which was, guys, wasn't this announced? Like, this was the weirdest info drop for a console I've ever seen.
This is the second time they've done this. They keep giving this exclusive to the Wired, which the Wired's great. Nothing against the Wired, but it just seems like. I'm not trying to insult the Wired because the Wired does good work. It just seems very weird that both of these exclusives have gone to the Wired of all things.
Also, Wired was the one that broke that crossplay is available. Sony didn't put out like a PR statement. Wired said that their development sources confirmed it too. So I don't know if Wired just has good connections or what.
Who the Wired is buzzed with like?
Can I just say I love this though? Like, I am so glad it wasn't like 3 weeks of like a countdown gif on PlayStation's Twitter every day. Like, it's coming, something's coming, and we're all like, we know what it is.
Like the Pokemon reveal, like the 24-hour Pokemon reveal where you had like a total of 7
for a palette swap Ponyta. Yeah.
Okay, do not insult Galarian.
No,
Ponyta.
it looks
that
awesome.
It is amazing.
It looks awesome.
Fucking hornet's nest, Justin.
Rest in peace, Joe Merrick.
But I was gonna say, people watched every second of that 24 hours.
So, by the way, I just want to point out, Justin and Reb, somebody actually broke down how many minutes in that 24-hour stream there was actually a Pokemon on screen. 7 minutes out of 24 hours. The rest of the time, it was just a fucking forest.
See, when I heard they were doing that, sorry, we're getting way off topic, but I want to talk about this because it's funny.
Great. Keep talking about it.
I thought it was like, oh, they're gonna tease a bunch of Pokemon and then have some big reveals, like show off legendaries and stuff. Like, I thought it was going to be this really, really big like Pokemon reveal event where we're going to get like 10 plus Pokemon, like, and then it was just a different colored ponytail.
They showed like a little bit more of Impidimp, who I've only seen kind of on like camera shots of screens before, so that was nice. But yeah, I was at a convention in Miami, flying back that day, so I was awake for a reasonable chunk of that 24 hours, but not watching the stream because I was working. And so I would like go off to work for like an hour and like watch a panel or something, and then check my phone because I was like so excited for whatever was happening. And it's just Joe Merrick from Cerebi just slowly deteriorating.
Because he's the only person that runs that site, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So
yeah,
it was
I think so.
it was him for all 24 hours.
I think he has like some contributor or like crowdsourced help, maybe. I don't know what kind of help he has, but like yeah, he stayed awake for the full 24 hours doing this, and I just, my God.
So,
like it's almost like they did it on purpose just to troll him just specifically.
Him, yeah. Anyway, that was a delight. I also, before we move on to something, I want to point out that Jeff's watching hockey right now. The most Canadian-ass thing he could possibly do.
I was trying to ignore it, but they just tied it up and it's going into OT, so I'm going to be.
Who are we supporting, Jeff? Who are we cheering for?
The Oilers, obviously.
The Oilers?
The Oilers.
The Oilers? Who are the Oilers?
The Edmonton Oilers.
Fucking Wayne Gretzky? Oilers. You heard of Wayne Gretzky?
Hey, I've heard of that guy.
Yeah, Oilers.
Is he like Blake Bortles of hockey? I don't know.
Sure.
Who are they playing?
Devils, New Jersey. And nobody likes New Jersey.
Go New Jersey.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody likes New Jersey.
Go New Jersey.
Go Oilers! Okay, anyway,
Go New
continue.
Jersey.
Sorry. That was a
the only reason, Jeff, the only reason I'm saying New Jersey is because Martin Brodeur is one of my favorite goalies of all time. So
he used to play for the Avalanche. Yeah.
He did. Yeah. Martin Brodeur was a
Avalanche died to me when Sakic retired, but
I mean, I haven't paid attention to the Avalanche.
All right, PlayStation 5.
Video games.
I don't know things about sports, so I have to get quiet.
I was just trying to show a healthy, friendly interest in
I appreciate it so much.
All right, so
if you ever see me with a sport on in the background, you ask me about it.
I told you, gotta get that sports jersey.
The sports jersey. I have an esports jersey. That's all I got.
So I don't know too much about the PlayStation 5 specs. I do know this thing is apparently 8K. Which are, I mean, how many 8K?
Well, let's be responsible with how we.
John, I'll go over the spec stuff and I'll unpack it so not stupid.
Justin, go over the specs.
Okay, so
Jeff's yelling at me.
They had originally confirmed it was going to be an 8-core Zen 2 based CPU. They also confirmed that it is going to be 16 threads as well, which will help for multi-threading. It is going to have a super fast solid state drive, which again previously confirmed, but they talked more about how it's going to impact games. They talked about how it'll allow for seek times that don't to help keep file sizes down. I remember I was reading a presentation about Spider-Man, and 20 gigs of that 46 gig game was duplicated data because they had to be able to account for speed of streaming. So that's gonna be awesome. They talked about how that's also going to allow you to boot into like multiplayer matches straight from the console UI, or specific multiplayer matches. So you basically don't have to go into like start the game, wait for all the splash screens or anything. You could just load straight into that from the menus, which would be very cool. They also went ahead and confirmed that the ray tracing support is hardware-based. They did not say that in the last Wired interview, even though they mentioned ray tracing. And people have been going crazy with conspiracy theories about that. So they did confirm that it is hardware-based ray tracing.
So, Justin, I have a question,
which is going to be, yes.
I have a question for you. So have they confirmed backwards compatibility for this thing?
Yes.
They have. Okay, cool.
For PS4 and PSVR games.
Excellent. What about PS3 games, though?
They have. I mean, that's a tough thing to emulate. They have only talked about PS4 and PSVR games. That was one of the first things they said in the initial Wired interview.
Can I add a couple things, Justin?
Sure.
I just wanted to add as well. They did confirm a 4K Blu-ray drive for the 10 people that like to buy 4K Blu-rays.
You and me, buddy.
Yeah. So that's a lot of people, with the way physical media is going, the digital split, like it must have been a throwaway cost, and just because the Xbox has had it in all their Xbox Ones basically. So it's probably just so they can match them on the bullet point list in the back.
And also, I mean, the 100 gigabyte discs for games is probably going to help for people that do still buy physical games.
The other thing I wanted to say, because I saw a couple bad headlines, is it's important. It's so important.
Bad headlines never.
Yeah, it's so important to understand what someone like Cerny saying. This is what a system can do, and this is what is going to happen, because I pointed back. If you go back, a lot of people surprisingly don't remember this, and I'm surprised because the entire PS4 life cycle, I kept waiting for it. In the PS4 reveal, they have the Gaikai guy on stage saying you'll be able to go to the PlayStation Store, you'll be able to look at any game in the store, immediately start playing it and streaming it, and play the game and buy it if you want to. And that never materialized, but it's because they're talking about the things they're all like. Well, before a console's out, especially a year out, it's a promise, it's a vision. And as we saw with Xbox One, where that vision is at the start and where it gets to can totally change. So Cerny's saying things like the PlayStation 5 can download single player and multiplayer campaigns separately, but that's just a tool that they're offering to developers, and there's no guarantee that anyone is going to take advantage of that. So and the headlines are saying PS5 will offer separate single player downloads. That's not the case. Yeah. So let's just take everything with a grain of salt. He's saying this is what it can do. This is what we want it to do. This is our vision. But everything is fluid and everything changes, and not everything will materialize the way they want it to, and not every developer will be on board with all the tools they have available to them. So let's just...
Okay, correct.
Yeah.
And then just a note on the 8K 120 FPS thing that they keep saying. That's basically just confirming HDMI 2.1 support. HDMI 2.1 is like an extremely future-proofed HDMI spec.
I was gonna say, Justin, because I remember the whole 1080p 60 frames a second or die thing.
I mean, that was from somebody that works almost exclusively with indie games, and that has basically been true for the games that he worked with. So so basically it just means it'll support upscaling to 8K probably. You could potentially run games at 120 hertz, which is a bit different than 120 FPS. I'm not going to go into all that stuff, but it just means they're going to be supporting a lot of the features of HDMI 2.1, which the one that's actually far more exciting, I think, than 8K and 120 hertz is variable refresh rate. So basically, it's like FreeSync or G-Sync on PC, where you won't get the same kind of judder and input spikes when there's inconsistent frame rates, which I think would be really great for consoles. It would allow them to probably move beyond 30 FPS more often because they don't have to hit like a consistent 60. It'll be much smoother and much more pleasant to play. So I'm excited about those features.
The good thing is, if it's assuming it works the same way as on PC, is a system level.
It's a system level thing.
So it's nothing like devs don't have to implement FreeSync or VSync or VRR. It's just if the system supports it, as long as the game isn't capped to 30 FPS, then yeah.
Yeah, so that I think is the more exciting part of the HDMI 2.1 stuff. I'm trying to think, is there anything else?
Actually, I've got something to say about something that's happening in chat right now. Real quick, okay? So I agreed that Tropical Freeze is one of the top 3 platformers of all time, and a certain individual in chat, who shall not be named, says that all of a sudden I have a good opinion and the stream should be shut down. I will have you all know, I have a lot of good opinions.
John, we have hours and hours of footage evidence to the contrary.
It's true.
Just saying.
Justin!
Final Fantasy VI is the best RPG of all time.
Sorry.
Justin.
That's a good opinion.
Can you explain to me, a person who does not understand... Well, okay. I shouldn't dumb myself down. I do understand the majority of what you just said. But from a practical standpoint, I don't understand the majority of what you just said.
Okay, sorry. I was trying to make it
No. That shit is important to a lot of people. And that's why I understand it on a level where I can sit down, look at it, and write about it. But as someone who's just buying a fucking console, as someone who doesn't think really hard about what my games are going to look like, what parts of that do I care about?
Okay, you care about the solid state drive.
I do care about that.
Extraordinarily
I put one of those
short...
in my computer and it boots up really fast.
That'll be extraordinarily short load times.
That's good. I like that.
And I think that'll probably be the biggest sell for a lot of more casual players, because that's something that you can immediately tell somebody or show somebody and they can understand it, right?
Yes.
It's like I was just playing Battlefield 5 before I came on. Load times for each multiplayer match are 3 to 4 minutes.
I was playing Control last night and kept dying, and all the loading times are way too fucking long.
So, and this is, hey, you can just, if you want to fast travel, you'll be there in seconds. You don't have to watch a progress thing. You don't have to see stuff pop in. It'll just work.
That's good.
So that's a thing. You also care about the, what they mentioned about, not duplicating the data. And it means file sizes will stay down.
Yeah.
And that's less work for developers where they have to decide what data needs to be duplicated. Also good. Also, ray tracing. A lot of people are focusing on it as, visual enhancements, which it will bring. However, the reason a lot of developers want it is because they have to bake a lot of lighting, which is the process of pre-calculating it and then saving that lighting data. That lighting data is huge. It takes up a ton of RAM, it takes up a ton of space, and it takes hours, sometimes days, for them to bake it. And then if they have to make a change, they have to do it all over again. So if they're now doing all this, if they can now do all this in real time, that saves a ton of developer time that they can focus on other things. Okay. So basically, it's going to be easy to develop for, and it's going to be really quick to get in and out of games.
Okay, those all sound like nice things. Thank you.
I actually understand what the hell Justin was talking about now.
I'm not trying to dumb myself down. Like, I can sit there and look over those things and parse them, but there's a Rebecca writing news brain and there's a Rebecca trying to buy a console brain. And the thing that I'm interested in that I have not seen yet, and I don't even know what form it would take, is I just want to, I want to read reviews of people playing the thing and actually getting hands on with it and care. And I know that that's a year away, but getting hands on with it and telling us what they actually personally care about. I don't know. I want to see what games are going to be there at launch. Yeah. I want to know. The backwards compatibility is interesting to me. I don't have a lot of PS4 games, but I used to, and I think that would be something that...
The important thing to recognize is that, obviously by the time a system ships, the technology in it is already probably almost a year old because they have to build them up. So let's think about it this way. Games right now, still being released for the PS4, are still being built to run on what is essentially 2011, 2012 mid-range hardware.
The CPU...
Without going into any of the details, just think about the fact that you're going to get games now that are no longer... Because they have to build to the lowest common denominator. So you're going to get games now that can take advantage of much more powerful hardware. You're going to have bigger worlds with more NPCs, more draw. The world's going to be so much more immersive because they can do so much more with that technology.
And also, because of kind of the state of the economy and the games industry back in 2013 and what AMD had available, especially stuff like the CPU, they had to settle for whatever was available, and they couldn't go as high on the specifications as they tend to. When the 2013 consoles came out, you could not get a CPU as slow as what is in the Jaguar, as what is in those consoles. And that's what we're still using. And now we're getting an 8-core Zen 2 based CPU, which is a performance grade CPU. It's not super high end, but it's above a mid-range PC CPU, at least for right now, which is going to be awesome for developers to really take advantage of. And then someone in chat reminded me there was a couple details about the controller. They confirmed it's going to have a bigger battery. Thank God.
Good, because that thing dies after a fucking hour.
Haptic feedback.
Haptic feedback sounds really cool. So both in the triggers and in the sticks, they can have.
Justin, no, I'm sorry. Finish that thought. You were cutting out a minute. Finish that thought, and then I want to say something about that real quick.
Okay. They can actually have different levels of resistance, and you can kind of feel more details. It's an extension of what Nintendo has done with like HD Rumble. So they talked about going through mud, like moving a character through mud. And like you could feel it in the analog sticks, like it felt like a significantly different terrain that you were moving over. And they talked about when you were going over bumps, you could feel it in the triggers in a racing game because it adjusts how the gas and brake pedals perform. And also they said they had a demo, like a first-person shooter demo, and you could feel different types of recoil in the triggers based off the different type of weapons you were using. Stuff like that. Like, it's kind of gimmicky, but stuff like that I think is really, really cool.
No, that is really cool. I love the Joy-Cons. Like, this better Joy-Cons already kind of do, and I'm really bummed that Nintendo has kind of abandoned that in a lot of ways. Yeah.
So I'm already like the haptic stuff sounds like something that might be in a lot of launch titles and not used too much.
So,
you all right?
What was that?
I think Reb just dropped her headset.
I think the slope in her apartment got her good.
Did Reb slip away from us again?
Yeah, for everyone who doesn't know, Reb as the Earth turns on its axis, Reb is always drifting away from her computer.
It's a metaphor. Reb is constantly drifting away from us, but something keeps pulling her back.
Yeah, for those who weren't here like 3 months ago, my apartment slopes. So sometimes if I lean back, my chair just goes whoop, and I usually catch it, but I've had a couple mishaps recently.
I actually do have something to say on the haptic feedback controllers. And I'm not incredibly educated on this, so I don't know exactly why. Hold on, I dropped my phone. But I do know that there is some consternation among disabled gamers as to the presence of haptic feedback and how it can be detrimental to their gameplay experience. And I'm not exactly sure why, because I'm not incredibly educated on the subject. But I did want to mention that is a concern that our friends in the disabled community have had.
I imagine that sort of stuff is going to be toggleable off, just like Rumble. I know some people also just don't like it from a competitive standpoint. Just because, it will interrupt your ability to move and aim and stuff like that. So I'm sure that sort of thing is gonna be able to be turned off, even probably at a system level. Okay. Like the PS4 has pretty customized, like there's a whole accessibility menu where you can basically customize what every single button does. If you need to. I imagine they'll be taking that into consideration. It would be a massive, massive oversight if they didn't.
Do we have any predictions as to what the system is actually going to launch with? Because I think this would be a great time to bring back classic PlayStation franchises.
John, I hate to cut you off.
Go ahead.
I think we should leave that till the end because we really got to get to.
There's another.
Yeah, we really got to get to the layoffs at Sony Europe, we need to talk about some of the executive shakeups.
You're 100% right.
So it was really to transition a little bit. This all came out in the Wired, I think, on Monday. Is it Tuesday? Tuesday. It was on Tuesday. The news happened. Also, it's called the PlayStation 5, and it's launching holiday 2020. Those are like the two other things I think we didn't get to.
Jim Ryan, I'm so glad to finally say it's called the PlayStation 5.
Whatever. Anyway, this came out in the Wired, and apparently on the same day, a bunch of executives from Sony Interactive Entertainment America, the US side, flew out to the EU offices and laid off a bunch of people.
Also interesting is that none of the European staff knew that this Wired info was even coming out. They didn't even know that the announcement of the PlayStation 5 was going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. So that's kind of the crux of that thing. So layoffs suck, and I am so sorry to everyone affected. I hope you find good things. I hope they are taking care of you in your situations. Like I hope all those good things. We've talked a lot about layoffs on this podcast across the gaming industry. We know they're a fucking problem. They fucking suck. Unionize your workplace. I don't think we're going to delve into the layoffs too much, but I think the crux of that was interesting is that Sony's been undergoing kind of an interesting shift over the last several years that we've seen. And like they've talked about it kind of openly in some ways. Like they've talked about it in terms of like executive shakeups, Jim Ryan swapping positions with somebody earlier this year. I don't have the article up. I can't remember exactly what his new position is, like specifically called, because they get really, really particular about exactly what their titles are. But then, so Sean Layden leaving like a week ago, very unexpectedly, and it just getting announced via tweet. And then the people speaking to Video Games Chronicle about the Sony layoffs were saying about how, they didn't know about the Wired pieces. They had no idea it was going to be announced. And also that they get this feeling that Sony America is kind of taking over things now, and Sony Europe doesn't like the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing anymore. And it's just kind of I don't know a whole ton about how Sony's worked in the past, so I don't have a lot of intelligent things to say about it, but it's interesting to watch this shift happen right before the generation change, and tragic that it involves layoffs. I think it was marketing and PR that was affected, as well as like one US division as well.
Yeah. Justin, go ahead.
So I know just typically with, in the time since I have been following, Sony more closely at like a structural level, is they've had a lot of times where one branch has wanted to do something, but they have to either go back to Japan or go to Europe and coordinate things, and it tends to slow things down. And I know a lot of the US people tend to be a bit more... They tend to be a bit more proactive with responding to like consumer feedback and requested features and stuff like that. I really feel for the team in Europe, and I hope they all find new jobs quickly. But from my understanding, and I could be off base, but just from my understanding and perception, I think in terms of just general structure and ability to coordinate message and respond to, fan feedback and stuff, I think it's probably a good thing. Sony US people are going to be, doing some more running of the show. I think it'll streamline some stuff, and then we won't have some of the weird inconsistencies between branches that we've had in the past.
So I actually do have a question, and I want to kick it to Brandon first, because I want to give him the chance to cut in on this.
What's up, dude?
Everybody is aware of the old, arrogant Sony meme, right? But there is a little bit of truth to that. Like we all remember what happened with the PlayStation 3 and, and that big reveal and how it was
whole
just
second job.
And it's Ridge Racer, and just it was giant enemy crabs. It was all bad. And
I remember it clearly.
I know, dude. It was one of the worst console reveals I've ever seen. And then they kind of righted the ship with the PlayStation 4 reveal. They did everything right. It was a great, it was at the right price. They had obviously taken the lessons they had learned from that previous generation and applied them to their new console. But seeing as how Sony has basically completely dominated the home console space this entire generation, Brandon, do you think that they are going to continue taking those lessons they learned from the PlayStation 3 era, or do you think there's a danger of
returning to the cycle?
Right. And the reason I asked that, Brandon, is because of this big upheaval at Sony.
It's a good question. I think yes. Like there it is an absolute possibility. But I don't see a situation where like the PS5 is not like the leading console of next generation, aside from like the Switch, obviously, which is its own sort of thing.
True, agree.
But between the Xbox and the PS5, so will it hurt them to be the arrogant Sony? Because like again, it hurt them because with the PS3, it came out way behind the PS or
right,
360, right?
And I think part of that was due to the price too, right, Brandon?
Yeah, there was the price, and the 360 had a year lead on it and shit like that. But now they're going to be coming out at the same time, and I assume they would be price competitive and stuff like that. So you wonder, would the arrogant Sony hurt them like it did back in the PS3 generation? I don't think maybe it would.
Justin, go ahead real quick, and I want to kick it over to Jeff.
Well, I mean, we talked about this just last week. Jim Ryan had a statement after both
shit.
Layden left, and then the crossplay news came
I
out.
remember that. Yeah.
Is
I'm sorry,
that
I had my mic down. If anybody could hear anything I said.
Oh,
yeah,
no,
we can-
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, good.
but he specifically said there is, like, he outright said, we know that there is a I can't remember the word he used, but we know there's a tradition of the person of the market leader making mistakes and getting I think he's wanted to avoid complacency, and he specifically called out the whole, like, oh, you were in the lead last time, well, you're going to mess up really bad this time thing. So I think they have a lot of really smart people in the positions they have. So I'm not too worried about it. But if they do start going, like, I hope we just hold them accountable. So
John,
what are you doing?
I'm telling my wife to come say hi.
Oh, well, we got some drinks over there.
Yes, we do. I asked Vicky if she could give me a little bit more of the spirits here. Hi, honey. I love you.
I love you.
I missed you. She's been gone for a couple days now.
Sup, Vicky?
Hey.
Hi, Vicky.
Everybody
Yeah,
says
I guess-
hi.
I said hey.
Okay. I love you. Thank you. Please
to bring it
continue.
back
Am I dismissed now?
To bring it back to
You are
Sony,
dismissed.
Oh, nice.
I love you.
I just wanted to say, like, I think they've been making moves for a long time, kind of heading in this direction, and I won't say that all of them are related, but we know when they came out at the start of the generation, they were very heavy on the indie titles, indie support and stuff like that, and they've kind of moved away from that stuff in favor of the big AAA games. And if you look at their studio closures over the last 5 years or so, a lot of them have been in England, right? Like Liverpool.
Yes, that's
they
correct.
they did
That's
close
so-
Zipper in the US, but Evolution Studios, like
That's an interesting observation, Jeff.
the majority,
the UK studios in general have
yeah,
been
all in
closing a
England.
lot.
Probably I would say out of 8 studio closures, their most recent ones, probably 6 of them were based in the UK or Europe.
That's a really
So-
interesting observation. I hadn't even thought of that.
Yeah, and like some of it might be performance based. We know what happened with Drive Club, and then Evolution shuts shortly after. But I mean, there's been US studios that have had missteps and been afforded a little bit more leniency, and especially in Evo's case, like MotorStorm Apocalypse had bad timing with the earthquake in Japan. That one wasn't really on them, and it's just interesting to see they've kind of shifted from like a very global presence, very all genres, all variety, and they've really seemingly doubled down. They still have like Media Molecule and stuff like that, but they really seem to have found their home in these big, polished, AAA, narrative-heavy experiences. That's what sold PS4s for a large part, and I think that's what's going to continue to sell PS5s, and I think just a lot of the structure changes are to help support that new direction, in my opinion.
Jeff, I agree with you 100%. And you made a really interesting point about the indie titles. You're absolutely right. Like at the beginning of this gen, Sony was kind of the king of raising the platform of independent developers, but I feel like that has mostly shifted over to Nintendo. Because the Switch, I mean, dude, the Switch is just home to the indies now.
Game Pass is very good for indies as well.
Is it really, Reb?
I have heard this. I have not heard it unanimously. I have heard some people who have said it's not great for indies, but I have heard some people say it is great for indies, and all these people who are saying this are developers. So,
I've also just noticed, like, whenever Sony, like, especially like early in the gen and into the middle of the gen, there was always a lot of, like, if you looked at like the reactions on a lot of their social media things, if they ever did like an indie focused thing, they got so many negative reactions. Like the first State of Play had a lot of, like, just this year, like, had a lot of indie stuff in it, and some of it was cool, and people eviscerated them for that. Like, basically,
Jess, are you saying the gamers were upset?
the
oh
gamers?
yeah, I'm saying
Did
that
the gamers rise up? Jesus
yeah, but like
Christ.
I think ever since they've had like some of these big showings with like a lot of AAA stuff, we've noticed this year, like, they haven't had any big presentation this year. It seems like, to avoid some of the backlash, instead of just showcasing like a bunch of indies or something, they'd rather just not have a presentation.
And not to excuse that behavior, but I think that's just part of the consequence of having a few E3s in a row where it's like FF7 remake, Shenmue 3, Last Guardian, Spider-Man, The Last of Us, Uncharted.
Death Stranding.
Death Stranding, like
God of War.
all of your when all of your
guys-
presentations have games of that scale, that's kind of what people have come to expect. So, yeah, I get it, but it still sucks that people are shitty.
Can you guys believe we're like a couple weeks out from Death Stranding? I don't fucking believe
It's out
it.
in less than a month.
That's unbelievable.
Reviewers have it. Reviewers have it right now.
Oh,
Wait, they do?
Like,
Someone
really?
posted on Resetera that the embargo date.
The embargo is up, and the embargo's up a week early. which
yeah.
I
so
was
speaks
shocked.
volumes.
I am so here for Death Stranding Twitter. I am ready for it. And
It's-
Reb, I'm going to mute everything.
Reb, the
No,
gifts.
I
I don't want.
I can't.
I'm gonna
read it.
drink it in.
Yeah.
I'm gonna absorb it.
The
You should
gifts.
mute me for a couple weeks.
I mean, I'm going like invisible for that weekend till I
That's a good
finish it.
call.
So.
Oh my god, I'm
the,
so
But,
excited.
the gifts are gonna be so good.
It's gonna be
They're
really good.
so
You know, what
amazing.
if it's really boring, guys? What if it just ends
Oh,
up being
Reb.
just...
Oh, it could be.
Reb,
It's a
Reb,
Kojima game.
What if what we've seen already is the most wild stuff about it? And
Every
that's
single
just
game
it?
Kojima has made in 3D has
Reb,
had,
have
like,
you
extremely
seen the box
boring
art?
parts of it.
Have you
Yeah.
seen the
No,
box art?
I've not
Reb?
seen the box
I have
art.
no fucking idea what's happening on that box art, but I am here.
John, what are you talking about? The box art is just a picture of Norman Reedus.
No, it's not. No, it's a picture of fucking Norman Reedus and everybody else in the game. Like
It's literally just Norman Reedus. I don't know what you're talking about.
No,
It says
I don't
Death
think it is.
Stranding, and it's a picture of Norman Reedus.
Are you sure?
It's really boring.
Because what I've seen is maybe
Oh my god, Norman Reedus!
maybe it
It's
was
a wild game!
maybe it was a poster I saw, but the one I saw had like Norman Reedus, but all the characters in the game, and there's Die Hard Man on there, and fucking.
Is it like the big?
Is
Is
this
it
like
the
the
purple and
steamed
gold?
hands? Is this like a steamed hams mean John that you're starting? Norman Reedus, but he's actually near Automata. Norman Reedus is actually steamed hams. Norman Reedus, but all the other characters are there and they're all wearing Fortnite hats. Like,
Going back to our last episode, an all-star fighting game, and they're all Norman Reedus. You've got Daryl from The Walking Dead and Sam from Death Stranding.
no.
You've got his character from
Boondock Saints, Norman
Yeah.
Reedus. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fucking great. You got Norman
Mr.
Reedus from
Jellaby
Blade
in
2.
chat, you're asking if anyone's seen the Death Stranding ad and what's all that about. Look, I have not seen the Death Stranding ad, but
What
I guarantee
Death Stranding
if
ad?
anybody on this podcast has seen the Death Stranding ad, none of them can tell you what it's all about.
The
I
ad
guarantee no one
looks
has any
real
fucking
cool.
idea.
It looks real
Um,
cool.
All I
You
can
know
tell
what?
you is that
You know, thinking about the Death Stranding review, like the embargo being up early, I wonder if this is like Kojima being like a show of confidence after the whole Konami review boot
I
camp.
mean-
Well,
like
The
Yeah.
thing is, Sony has.
Oh my god, it's gonna get a bunch of 10 out of 10s, isn't it?
Yeah,
And then it's
but-
actually
but-
gonna be
but-
really
It's gonna
great.
get 10s and
Oh,
5s.
if it does, they've actually played the full game this
Yeah.
time.
Yeah,
As opposed
I saw that.
If Sony is putting the embargo up that early, it's good. The games that they have done the week early embargoes for this generation have been Uncharted 4, God of War. The
Last
first
of
game
Us
I think
was
they
the
ever
end of
did
the
it was the
previous
first
generation.
Last of Us.
Wait.
I think the lowest scoring game of any of the week early ones is
Drive Club probably.
Horizon with an 89 Metacritic.
Wait.
Yeah. I know.
So they're at least pretty confident. I wouldn't be that confident if I was them from what we've seen, but
I mean,
John, what are you laughing at?
I want to give a shout out to Sir Baggy Pants in chat who said Norman Reedus and the Happy Fetus.
John, everything you said cut out.
Yeah, I
You
don't know
said
what
He
what?
this
said
is.
so Sir Baggy Pants in chat said Norman Reedus and the Happy Fetus.
Oh, that joke's been on Twitter for
Yeah,
a while.
that's like-
I've never seen it. I've never
I
That's
saw it
the
like
joke.
yeah, that's the
Yeah,
joke.
That is the joke, yeah.
I would
Sorry,
love to
Sir
keep
Baggy
talking
Pants.
about fetuses, but
Yeah,
we've got
sorry.
a few more things we wanted to touch on. I think
Thank you, Jeff.
before we moved on, did you guys want to? I think we were talking offline before the show started. We've seen a lot with Reggie leaving Nintendo, and some changes with the executives there in the last few years, and then Layden House, Boys all leaving PlayStation, and then Ibarra leaving Xbox recently. Is there kind of like a changing of the guard? All of these people have been with these companies for decades, and I guess is this just kind of what thoughts you guys have on how this is going to play out? Are we going to see big direction changes? Was it just part of being adaptive to the industry, or is it just time?
I mean, I think that like Reggie retiring, I think it was a very normal thing for someone like Reggie to do. We've already seen the kinds of things he's doing now. I do think that right before a big generational shift is probably the time. Like these people, like they're not leaving before decisions are made. They're leaving after. They're leaving at a point where internally all of these decisions are already set. They already know what they're doing. They have basically taken the ship, put it on the course, given the people in charge of map, given them a compass, given them the wheel, taught them how to steer, and said, okay, here's what you're doing now. You got this. And then going off to a little sunny island somewhere. Well, that's what they're doing. But I do think Sean, I think one, it's funny that photo of Sean Layden, Phil Spencer, and Reggie now only has Phil Spencer in it. And I assume he's staying, but I hope we don't lose Phil Spencer too, because he's just a delight in these presentations.
He's a good person.
He's delightful. But at the same time, I'm very curious as to what Mike Ibarra and Sean Layden are doing. I mean, I think the joking speculation is that everybody's just going to Stadia now. But I don't know. I'm very curious. I'm very interested to see where they pop up again. Like you don't really get much bigger than guy in charge of PlayStation or guy in charge of a bunch of shit related to Xbox.
So like, we all have to remember that, and the point has been made a dozen times, but I'll use an example. Like right after the generation started and the PlayStation 4 dropped, we all remember Jack Tretton, who walked out on stage at, Sony's E3 and said, you can play all your used games and it's great. A year later, he left the company. He walked away and he went and he did his own thing. And everybody was speculating as to what that meant. Well, it just meant that he moved on and did his own thing. I think the reason people are so curious about what's happening with Sean Layden is that with Mikey Barr, we don't know what it was just out of the blue. We don't know what happened. There was no statement by Sean Layden. Jack Tretton came out and made a statement, said, hey, I'm moving on, and I had a great time at PlayStation, I had a great time at Sony, I'm going to move on and do other things. But with Sean Layden, he just left. And it was really, really strange.
Especially because he's not just like, a higher, like Kaz or something like that. Like he's the face of PlayStation to a lot of people. So it is a bit strange to just sneak out the back door in the middle of the night.
Studios, as it were.
Yeah.
And I'm not speculating as to what it could be. I have no idea what it is, but I'm honestly not convinced we're ever actually going to find out.
No, maybe we don't need to.
Yeah,
right?
Who knows? But I will say this: Reb had a really good idea to kind of for us to kind of go around the horn with before we started the podcast. Reb,
this.
Yeah, please.
I just suggested we were all trying to decide for topics for tonight, and a couple of us had ideas for like little tiny things we wanted to talk about in a week of just big news. And so I figured we could all go around and everybody like share one thing, one like smaller thing from the week that they were really excited about or that interested them. I thought that would be interesting tonight.
Reb, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, I will. So my extremely little thing that doesn't need like a huge discussion or anything is I started playing Control last night. I streamed it. A couple of you I think were there for it. And this is the first. So I was writing for a site called App Trigger for 4 years, and it was amazing. It was a good time. I was also doing, honestly, the bulk in quantity of the reviews there for a very long time. And I reviewed so many fucking games, and some of them were not games that I like to play. And I spent like basically 3 of those 4 years just nonstop playing games that I didn't. A lot of them were really good. It wasn't that I didn't enjoy playing them, but a lot of them I just would not have chosen to play. And it was good in that it broadened my horizons, but it also stressed me the hell out. So for the first like year and a half that I wrote for Games Industry and didn't have to review anything, I decided I'm only going to play games that I'm really, really enthused to play. And I did that, and it was wonderful and relaxing. But as a result, I played no shooters. I played almost no violent games at all. And I played very few games that have kind of that third-person perspective where, I mean, I'm sure there's a word for this I'm just missing, but it's not just shooters. It's like third-person where you like in Skyrim, you like aim and fire with magic or whatever.
Third-person shooter.
Third-person shooter, not necessarily with shooting, but, I played no games like that. So I kind of just got stuck in this realm of not playing games like that. And Control has always sort of been on my periphery of like a game that I was interested in. And I got the opportunity to pick it up and play it. And holy shit, I love it. It was so fun. I love the world building. So I'm not very far. Don't spoil anything for me. I'm very not far at all. I just got the throwy powers and did like one fight with that. And holy shit, I love throwing shit around. It's so much fun. Oh my God, I could do this all day. And the thing that I love about it is aside from the world building, which is really cool, is that I struggle with games that both have too many systems and require me to strategize at the same time. Like I love strategy games when I can sort of take a bird's eye view and decide things. And I don't mind games with a lot of buttons if I'm if it's like Hollow Knight, where I'm kind of like getting a rhythm of buttons, or like growing gradually over time and getting like new things added very slowly. But the thing with a lot of shooters, like I go to conventions and like try to do a demo of Call of Duty, and people have been playing Call of Duty for years don't care about this, but I can't fucking play it because there's like grenades and specials and techs and different guns, and I've got to get a bunch of ammo for this gun, but then like there's just too many fucking things. And Control like spent several minutes just letting me walk around, and then it taught me how to jump. And then like several minutes later, eventually I crouched. And then I learned how to smack people. And then after a short time of doing that, they gave me a gun, and the gun just shoots. Like that's just what it is. I know it'll do more things later, but right now for like a couple hours of the game, it just shoots. And I don't have to pick up ammo. I don't have to swap guns. I just do this really basic thing. Move and shoot. And it's really easy. And then like after about 2 hours of this, right as I was getting comfortable, they gave me throw. So I have like very simple verbs. I'm getting them like one thing after another in like a very easy progression, and I feel really comfortable with it. It moves smoothly. I always know what I can pick up and throw and what I can't. And it's just, it's really nice for someone like me who isn't like as comfortable with those kinds of games. I don't know if it's going to get harder. I might get frustrated by it later, but I'm really, really enjoying it.
I've had so many people tell me I need to play this game.
Sorry, that was longer than I meant to take with that.
No, it's fine.
Oh, no, that's fine.
No, it's fine. After this week, it's a kind of positivity we need.
Mm-hmm. Anybody singing the praises of Control can take as much time as they need.
It's great. I'm going to keep playing it. I'm going to keep streaming it too. Like I ended my stream I was just sort of throwing random things, like because I was in the mechanic, I was in kind of an empty area and just throwing shit. There were no enemies around. And I threw a couple fire extinguishers. They hit the wall, exploded, landed, caught on fire, and then slowly simmered down. And I was just like so excited because like
the effects work and physics in that game just make some of those powers so much fun.
Reb, earlier you asked, like, for practical people, what are the new generation of consoles going to give us? It's going to give you more shit like this with fire extinguishers and explosions and more complex particle effects. Yeah.
Yay! I like that.
Do you all mind if I go next? Because I've had something that's been on my mind for a week now.
As long as it's not Final Fantasy VI, okay, then we're good.
I want to talk about Sayonara Wild Hearts, because
this is another game. Anybody talking, singing the praises of can take as long as they need for.
Sayonara Wild Hearts actually resonated with me in a way that I wasn't expecting it to. My wife lives in a pretty constant state of pain. She walks on a cane. She has a lot of quality of life issues, and she doesn't feel like the person she used to be. And I love my wife dearly. I love her more than anything else on earth. And playing Sayonara Wild Hearts was, almost like playing my wife's journey to find herself again. And there was a moment, there's a line at the end of the game, and Justin, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, where it's the last line of narration you've seen in the game. And I put my Switch away and I broke down in tears because it made me feel. It was all. It's so hard to explain. Like it was that feeling that my wife has been trying to reclaim for herself, and it resonated with me in a way that I really wasn't expecting it to. And it's just one more instance of why I love this medium and why I love this industry. Because games are fun and games are great, but they can also stir things inside of us that we didn't know were there, and they can touch us and surprise us in ways that we weren't expecting, and in a way that movies can't, because you know, it is, if you're watching a film, you know, you're always going to be a passive observer, whereas in a game you are an active participant. And this game made me think of my wife and you know, her, I guess, journey back from the brink and trying to find herself again. And it really just, it hit me extremely hard. And as a result, this hour-and-a-half long game is now in the Game of the Year conversation for me. You know, it's just an amazing fucking game. And if you have somebody in your life who is struggling through something, I highly recommend you take an hour and a half, sit down and play this game, because it is absolutely incredible, and I am sure it will resonate with you.
Designed as a mobile game.
Yes, Reb, I know.
Just saying.
Who's going next?
I can go.
Justin, go ahead.
So, next week, there's 2 indie games coming out that I have been waiting a really, really long time to play. Return of the Obra Dinn is coming to consoles.
Yeah, good count.
Wait, thank you for reminding me.
Oh, it's real good, guys.
Is coming to consoles next Friday. I've been waiting ever since last year to play that. Just the style, the approach to it sounds super fucking cool. Like,
it's fantastic. It's one of my favorites this year.
I'm really looking forward to being able to play that. And Outer Wilds is coming to PS4 next week. And I don't have an Xbox or a PC, so I have been hearing nothing but amazing things. Outer Wilds, not Outer Worlds. This is not the Obsidian.
I got confused too.
This is not the Obsidian RPG, although that I think is out the week after. This is the space exploration game published by Annapurna. I can't quite remember who the developer is, so forgive me on that.
I have to look it up every time because I get it confused with Outer Worlds, and I also get it confused with another game that's coming out next year for some reason.
Yeah, but
Mobius Digital.
Okay. But yeah, so those are just 2 games I have been waiting on for a while. The Outer Wilds date just got released out of nowhere this Tuesday. There was I thought it was going to actually be a longer wait before that one. And Obra Dinn got announced a while ago, and I've been looking forward to that. So those are 2.
It was the Nintendo Direct, right, Justin?
Yeah, it was on one of the directs. But it is coming to Xbox and PlayStation, not just Switch. So yeah, I've just been looking forward to those, and with, you know, how many huge releases there have been, and, you know, how much big gaming news there is, I just want to remind people to check those out.
Yeah, good one.
Great, Brandon. I'll call you Brandon. I'm like on my 3rd glass of whiskey, so I'm a little.
No.
I'm a little. Yeah. Brandon, go ahead, buddy.
Brandon?
Did Brandon die?
Jeff, go ahead while we try to find Brandon.
He was muted.
Brandon was muted. Brandon, go ahead, my man.
I just wanted to mention how much it sucks that Doom Eternal got delayed. It was a big game in this year.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
I mean, I guess it needed it.
Yeah, things happen, you know,
Which is
I understand. It'll be a better game for it. But
God, March.
It's coming.
In March, right?
Doom's coming out on my birthday now, so I'm just gonna eat cake and play Doom on my birthday. That sounds like a good birthday.
That's what the fuck I'm talking
sounds like
about.
a really good day, guys. March of next year.
Animal
I know.
Actually, let me just.
Final
This
Fantasy.
I know.
This list is reasonable enough that I can like read most of it. So this is just Q1 2020, and this is not everything, but this is a lot of things. We've got Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, if that's your thing. I think that looks mildly interesting. Tokyo Mirage Sessions coming to Nintendo Switch. Fuck yes. Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered, Journey to the Savage Planet.
I'm pumped for that.
Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Last of Us Part 2, something called Gods and Monsters. I remember what that is. That's from the people, yes. Iron Man
Ubisoft.
VR, yeah. Final Fantasy VII Remake, this is March. Watch Dogs Legion, Just Dance 4, who cares? Animal Crossing New Horizons, Doom Eternal, and Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. The combination of Doom, Animal Crossing, Watch Dogs, and Final Fantasy VII, Jesus Christ.
So
and then Cyberpunk, like 2 weeks later.
There are
Holy
3 games.
shit.
Doom Eternal, Animal Crossing, and Final Fantasy VII Remake are all day one for me, and I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do.
I love the juxtaposition of Animal Crossing and Doom.
I've seen a couple people that are like, "Do you think it's going to be bad for one or the other that they're releasing on the same day?" It's like, I think they'll be fine.
I think they'll be okay. You think Doom is looking at okay? Wait,
Doom is going to pull so many people away from Animal Crossing.
Oh no, man, we can't release that day. Nintendo's got Animal Crossing coming out. All the Doom.
Brandon, are you going to be done FF7 by the time Doom comes out, Brandon?
I'll be on multiple playthroughs, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Brandon will play through
adding
it
like
3 times.
gajillion hours of new content. Done.
Jeff, is there something that Jeff? Is there something you wanted to mention that happened this week?
Yeah, Jeff.
Bud?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess this kind of turned into like a pseudo what we've been playing.
Yeah, fuck it, dude.
Brandon is clearly not playing Doom. Clearly, that's the problem here.
Could be playing the Doom 2016.
Are you playing Doom 2016, Brandon?
I might replay it in between now and then.
All right, there we go.
Nothing else coming out between now and then. Yeah,
exactly.
Not at all.
No, I want to give a shout out to John Wick Hex. It's latest game from Mike Bithell, who made Thomas Was Alone, Volume, and a couple small little narrative games, Quarantine and Subsurface Circular. He's a great dude. I enjoyed most of his games. Obviously, these are modest budget indie titles, so you got to go in with those expectations adjusted. John Wick Hex is a prequel to the movies, and it's a really interesting and unique take on what you expect that kind of game to be. It's a top-down tactical shooter. Yeah, it's a very hard thing to describe until you get your hands on it, but the essence of it is think of Hotline Miami, working your way through these levels, basically killing everyone. But instead of being Twitch-based, every move you make pauses the game. Every time an enemy shows up, it pauses. It's all about managing your actions. There's a timeline at the top that shows you how long your action will take and how long your enemy's action will take. And you can see it's going to take them 0.5 seconds to shoot you, but your shoot is going to take 0.9 seconds, either because you've got a revolver that you have to, like, it has a longer reload speed, or you have to draw it out because it's not ready. And so it's just all about this cold, tactile, like, calculations of what decision are you going to make in what scenario. And a lot of it's trial and error. Like, so if you like that kind of thing, like, how do I do the perfect run through this level kind of thing? Because each level is made up of like 5 mini levels, and all your ammo and health and stuff carries through from the first till the end of the level. So you might get through the first phase and like be down to no health and no bullets, and you can usually persevere if you're really clever with how you approach enemies and sneak up behind them and stuff like that. But yeah, it's like, I think $20 it's only on the Epic Game Store right now, I think. It's very like point and click based, so I think he'll probably release it on at least 1 or 2 other platforms eventually. But if you have a computer and if you are open to buying games not on Steam, then I'd suggest giving it a look, because there
aren't any other storefronts besides Steam, Jeff.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, well, I guess just wait on it.
The descriptions of this game sound really cool, because it sounds like, because the thing about John Wick is, he is a very tactical, calculating character, but like the movies move so fast. But it seems really cool how they've been able to kind of combine like
the one thing I'll say,
like that fighting style with like the tactics approach.
The one thing I'll
not
say
what you would think of
is I feel bad. I wish I could credit this person. I read something someone said that the license actually works against the game in some ways, and anyone who's watched the movies knows from a presentation perspective and a choreography perspective how slick those are. And I'm not gonna blame the developer. Like, it's obviously made on a small budget. The animations are pretty rough. They're fine for the top-down gameplay when you're just kind of doing these quick little movements. But the game, at the end of each level, you can watch a replay, and it tries to frame it like a John Wick movie with cinematic angles and cuts and stuff like that. And the game this was clearly not, I don't think, an idea that came at the beginning of the game. It seems like something they decided at the last minute they could add in. So you have walls obscuring the camera angle and just all the animations. You're walking on a grid, so your character is just like turning this way and then 90 degree this way, and then the melee animation is just one little like chop, and it's It just, I don't think it's achieves what they set out to, and again, just having the weight of those movies and what you think John Wick fighting looks like, and then seeing him fight that way in this game, there's a bit of a disconnect there. So that's, but the game itself, like when you're playing the game, it's really, really good. That's the one thing that I noticed that kind of, yeah.
No, dude, that's great. And this is the kind of shit we need this week, right? Like, just like stories about something that has either made us happy or kind of touched our hearts about gaming, and that's the real power of this medium.
Also, sorry, I know I don't get to, but real quick, Summerfall Studios announced a game just like a couple hours before this podcast. It's called Chorus, and it's not a video game musical. It's a musical that's a video game. Like the video game itself has, like, Laura Bailey is voicing the main character, and there are
great.
like fucking musical numbers and their songs, and it looks good.
Laura
One of the
Bailey's
people
great.
who worked on Mass Effect is on it, so like the dialogue choice system is similar. It's called Chorus, an adventure musical. Go look. There's an interview on gamesindustry.biz. I'm plugging it. Go fucking look up what this game is, because musicals, Broadway.
This sounds really cool. I need to check this
It
out.
looks really good.
Hell
Okay,
yeah.
sorry.
No,
sorry.
Reb, there's no apologies here. Brandon, you mentioned yours, right?
Yeah, Doom. That's about all.
Okay,
I haven't been playing anything special.
All right, I just want to make sure. But other than that sweet final, Brandon and I are
That's
going to be
all- yeah, I'm
diving.
waiting for that patch, man, so badly.
Brandon and I are going to be running that Final Fantasy 14 Eden Savage shit this weekend, right?
Oh yeah, all that shit.
Fuck yes.
I'm ready.
Jeff, please. Jeff needs to hurry up and finish Shadowbreaker so he can.
I am
raid-
going as fast as I can. I have played nothing for
believe
3
you.
months, but
so he can
Final
raid with us, Jeff.
it's like 200 hours, man. Give me a
it's
little
so
bit more
good.
time.
Ready for the extreme trial.
It's
probably.
so good. We're kind of bumping up against time here, but I did want to mention one thing. So obviously everybody knows that Bluepoint is working on a new remake for the PlayStation 5, and I just wanted to tell everybody here right now, Siphon Filter.
Not
Oh, it's
Siphon
Siphon Filter. It's coming. Siphon. It's coming. It's Siphon Filter. It has to
Siphon
be.
filter.
Do you want to make a
Siphon
bet on this,
filter.
John?
Yes, I
I
do.
feel like this is an easy win for
Make
me.
Yes, I
a
do.
bet.
It's an old
Make
school-
a
Yes, I
bet.
do.
Make a
Yes,
bet.
I do.
Make a bet.
Yes, I do. Jeff and I are betting right now. It's Siphon
I
Filter.
love it.
Well, I don't have terms ready yet. You gotta give me some time.
Okay. Oh, no. Think of the terms. Come
We'll
up with
help.
the
We'll help.
terms.
Okay.
No.
Take your time.
What does John have to do if he loses? What's something that we all really want John to do?
It has to be reasonable. I don't know.
It has to be reasonable.
Like, I'm not gonna
Does
play
it?
play through 80 hours
does
of The
it
Witcher
though?
3.
Does
Does
it though? We'll come back to this one. We'll come
Okay,
Yeah.
back to
okay,
this one.
fine.
We'll come back to this one.
Admit he has bad opinions. God, Cam.
No, that's not going to happen because I don't have bad opinions.
See?
But
No.
we do have some housekeeping to take care of. Don't forget, we have our Extra Life stream coming up the first weekend of October. Derek, the lovely
November?
baritone Derek. No, first weekend of November. So it'll be November 2nd.
It is October.
Yeah.
Currently.
No. Right now it's October, but
Yes.
but our Extra Life stream is the first weekend of November. So
Yes.
November 2nd, Derek, the incredible Derek will be driving here, and we are going to couch co-op a bunch of games for 24 hours for a children's hospital. It's going to be great. We're going to have a great time. We're going to get drunk. We're going to have it's going to be awesome.
You're gonna play some anime bullshit.
We're gonna play some stupid, weeby anime bullshit. Derek has instructed me not to look up hyperdimension, Neptune.
No.
I'm not. I'm going to be.
I played it.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not looking for. I'm really nervous about it. It's not going to be great, but we're going to be streaming a bunch of games. I also want to give a shout out, not just to everybody here on this podcast, but to everybody here in chat. It's been I've had a kind of a weird year with anxiety, but everybody here on this podcast and everybody in chat really helps keep me going and kind of keeps me confident in myself. And this is kind of like a safe space for me. It's a haven for me. And I really appreciate everybody on this podcast and everybody in chat. You are all wonderful, wonderful people. And you are part of the reason that I am able to get out of bed every morning. And I really appreciate that. Does anybody have anything they want to say before we, I I do have something else. Reb and Justin and I recorded a podcast a few days ago about violent video games that is going to be dropping this weekend. And also, Justin, you and Derek recorded something.
No.
Who recorded?
I think it was Finn and Derek.
It was Finn and Derek. Sorry, I'm a little drunk.
I
right
know.
now.
I get Finn and Justin mixed up all the time.
I'm a little drunk right now. So
I believe they recorded a River City Girls discussion.
Girls. Right? Yeah. Look, I'm kind of hammered right now. Okay. But I'm kind of like I love all you guys mode right now. Does anybody have anything they want to drop before we sign off here?
Liberate Hong Kong, unionize your workplace, stay hydrated.
God, fucking Reb covered it all.
That's what I got.
that was it.
That's all we got.
That's really all that needs to be said.
Maybe a quick shout out. It's World Mental Health Day, and everyone knows.
Good call.
Everyone knows where we stand. Basically
Good
ties
call.
into everything John just said. Just encourage people to talk, be open, be supportive of everyone. Seek help if you need it, whether that's with professionals, outreach, or just with friends and family and stuff like that. But it's everyone, literally everyone deals with mental health every day in one way or another, and it's something that we just should all be comfortable talking about.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. Jeff, thank you for bringing that up. Damn. I can't believe I didn't think of that.
Good call.
And of course, one last thing, our Halloween podcast, we are all going to be wearing costumes.
Oh God, I gotta figure this out.
We're all going to be wearing costumes for that podcast, and Derek will be sitting right here next to me, and we're going to be tag teaming this thing right here with everybody on Discord. So it's going to be fantastic. I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be an awesome weekend. And
Cam, I'm not getting the Greg suit. My God.
wait, hold on. Wait. What was that?
Like,
Kind of funny, for the month of October, Greg Miller has been wearing an enormous, it fits
the
him.
pumpkin, like the
The
weird
pumpkin jacket,
suit?
the very large pumpkin suit. Cam, bless him, went and found the pumpkin suit at a local, I believe, a Halloween store of some kind, and took a photo with it. That was incredibly intense. And now Cam thinks I am going to go find the pumpkin suit and wear it.
I think you should, Reb.
I will not be doing this. I have a better plan. It does not involve a suit.
So
when the fuck am I going to wear a pumpkin suit outside? No.
So
No, I will not be getting the pumpkin suit.
Waypoint set in chat says John will be dressed as his opinions. Jesus fucking Christ. And then Jeff said John and Derek should be ice climbers. That's not a bad idea, Jeff.
Ooh. Yeah.
Jeff, that's real good. Jeff, that's real good. Holy shit.
Didn't you and Derek have costume?
You know what? Honestly,
they did. They're supposed to dress as Wario and
honestly,
still haven't had that happen.
We'll probably just dress as Wario and Waluigi, to be honest with you.
I don't believe you're going to dress as Waluigi. I don't think you're going to do it. No,
You
I don't think you will.
think
I
I
don't
will?
fucking think you will. I don't.
Are we betting?
Yeah.
Are we betting that you're going to fulfill your obligation?
You know what, Justin? Why don't
I
you be
bet that
quiet?
you're not gonna.
Why don't
I
you
bet
be-
that you're not gonna.
All right, we're going to come up with some terms. We're going to come up with some terms, and we're going to decide
Okay.
this weekend.
John,
He's
I've
not
got my
gonna- he's
terms
not
for
gonna
our
fucking
bet.
do it.
Oh, Jeff has his terms, Rebecca.
If
All right.
Blue Point's game
This is a different bet.
if Blue Point's game is not Siphon Filter, you have to do an entire episode in character of a fictional video game character of my choice. You don't have to dress up necessarily, depending on who it is, but you have to be in character as that person. And host the show.
I like this one a
This is real
lot.
good. This is tasty.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. I'm here for it. I agree. I agree to the terms, Jeff.
Well, you got to come up with some terms for Jeff if you lose.
I
this,
will
but
co-
we don't
I-
have to do
I-
that right now.
I almost
I
got
can't do it
away.
right now.
Does he have to come up with terms if he
I
loses?
don't know. I think it would be
absolutely-
nice to see Jeff do something ludicrous for a change.
How about
Oh,
this?
no.
If I lose, I will play through Final Fantasy VI in its entirety.
Ooh.
I've never played it.
No,
Take the
here's
bet. Take the bet.
You don't
Take
just
the
have to
bet.
play it. You have to stream
Yeah,
it.
take that bet. Take
You have
that
to
bet.
stream it.
Yeah, take that bet.
I don't want to commit to streaming it because that's going to take me a lot longer, depending on my schedule. It's easier
Okay,
if I just...
all right.
Take the
Fair
bet.
enough.
Fair.
Fair enough. I take the bet. The
Yeah.
terms are
That's a
acceptable.
really good one.
The terms are
No one
acceptable.
loses that bet. 0 people lose.
Yeah,
out.
nobody loses that bet.
That's really good. Okay.
All right. Before we sign off, show of hands. How many people are hoping Jeff wins the bet? Oh, be fucking honest with me.
I
Come
know.
on.
Okay. I
Well, the
hope
thing
you
is-
win the bet because I want Jeff to play Final Fantasy VI, but I
Yeah.
think Jeff's going to win the bet.
We'll see.
You never
Same.
bet on John winning something.
No.
Hey, you know
never.
what? I want to bet with Anthony.
One
I want to bet with
bet.
Anthony about Xenoblade 2. Okay, all right. I want to bet. And I'm
Ooh,
gonna win
I'm
this
John.
one.
I have bad opinions.
I think it's time to end the show.
Such disrespect for your game dad. Wow. I'm sorry. Anyway, be good to each other. I'm drunk, okay? Be good to each other. Take care of each other. And as always, it's not always poetry and we don't always agree, but we always keep it real. So until next week, please watch after each other and enjoy your games. Have a good weekend.